So let us see something about requirement engineering process. We have to understand this process is used for requirement engineering. Now this process may vary depending on the application domain, depending on the people who are involved, depending on the organization developing the requirements. Okay, these people, depending on this process may vary. However, you have to understand that there are few things that are common. There are few things that you will have to do with whatever different ways you are using for your gathering a requirement, right? One is requirements elicitation, requirements analysis, requirements validation and management. Elicitation means you try to find out the requirement. Elicitation actually means like popping up. Okay, whatever the requirements are there, they should come out. They may not look from outside, but you have to do something so that the requirements may come out. So for that you may need to interact with the internal peoples, with the end users, and try to understand the actual requirements, right? And also you will have to analyze them depending, yes, it is feasible or not. You will have to validate, means whatever you have understood you will have to demonstrate and say that yeah, whether this requirement that I have understood is correct or not, right? Then you have to manage accordingly how this can be done. So this requirement engineering is an iterative activity in which these processes are interleaved. Let me show you a spiral view, where when you start with getting a business requirement specification. This will be an abstract requirement. Then you do a feasibility study that okay, for this kind of requirement I will use such technologies, and we will need to have such software engineers. Okay, whether it is feasible, yes, it is feasible. Then you try to go for user requirement elicitation. So you get the requirements. What requirements? User requirements. User requirements, you understand, they are a little abstract, they may not be very much detailed, right? So you get this user requirements, and then you specify, you make a document of your user requirements. Then you create a prototype, and with this prototype you show them, and then you get the detailed requirement. You can call it system requirement. So here it is system requirement elicitation. After having a prototype, you can show it to them, and then you can get the system requirements, a detailed requirement for it, right? After that you can go for its specification and modeling, a quick design and a proper document, right? Then you can show this document and get a review that yes, it is correct or not. Accordingly, the final whatever requirements are there, they may come out, yes, it is correct. Then you can make a final document that these are the requirements. Now you check it out, it will be requirement validation. You will validate, they will validate, whatever you and the customer both will sit together and validate, yes, it is the correct document. Now then you will get a system requirement document, right? Now let me talk about elicitation a little, elicitation and analysis. So also sometimes it may be called as requirements elicitation or requirements discovery. You will try to discover the requirements. So it involves technical staff working with customers to find out about the application domain, trying to understand the services that system to provide and the system's operational conditions, that it should fast, these kind of non-functional requirements, these kind of things you will have to try to understand along with the customers. Now you may have to work with end users, those are who are going to use them, managers, engineers involved in maintenance, domain experts and trade unions, whatever those who are somehow related with this software. You will have to interact with all of them to get out your get your requirements, get the requirements of the system, right? So this process you call it as requirement elicitation. Now here let me tell you about some of the problems. What can be the problem? These stakeholders don't know what they really want. Okay, they can tell you that okay, I want this kind of features, but they may not be able to express requirements completely in a way so that you could understand. So for that, your structured way of getting this thing that will help you. What was the structured way? What is input, what will be the output, what is the condition, what is pre and post condition, what are the side effects. If you have a structured way, then you will easily understand these requirements. Here we are telling that stakeholders express requirement in their own terms. They believe that I have said this thing, it is very easy to understand. These technical people is there, but they can also understand these things very easily. Okay. So different stakeholders may have conflicting requirements. Sometimes different stakeholders will have conflicting requirements. Some stakeholders, the users were saying that we want this thing, and some users or the managerial level people are saying that this should be the requirement. So in that case, you will have to bring both of them together and resolve their conflict and come to a conclusion that this is the requirement we want to implement. Okay. Organizational and political factors may influence the system requirements. Okay. The requirements change during the analysis process. These requirements may also change. So these are a few things which are the problems related to your requirement analysis. Let us talk some more things about your requirements elicitation and analysis. Software engineers work with a range of system stakeholders to find out about the application domain. Okay, you will have to find out about the application domain to understand the services nicely. Okay, those services that the system should provide, the required system performance, hardware constraints, and other related to issues. What are the stages? The stages are requirements discovery, requirements classification and organization, requirements prioritization and negotiation, and requirements specification. Okay, these are actually in rotation. Rotation means, I should say, iteration. Okay, iteratively they do work. Let me tell you some more things about this. Here, requirement discovery. What happens in requirement discovery? You interact with the stakeholders to discover their requirements. You will interact with the domain experts and other people to find out the requirements. Then these requirements should be classified, means grouped together, and this should be organized accordingly. After that, they are prioritized. Prioritize means you give priority to certain requirements. Also, you negotiate to remove the conflicts. Okay, you try to resolve the requirement conflicts. This is negotiation. Then this is requirement, especially you come to a requirements document, and then again it is reviewed, and you may go in a cycle to get more requirements and do the same things. So the same thing is written here, that first of all requirement discovery is there, you interact with people and get the requirement, you classify and organize them, then you prioritize and negotiate, and then you make the proper document. So once again, let me tell you about the problems. The same problem I am repeating here again. The stakeholders do not know what actually they want. You will have to find out, you will have to ask questions accordingly and try to find out the requirement. Stakeholder express requirement in their own terms. So you will have to ask such questions to understand. If you have a structured way, that is helpful. Different stakeholders may have conflicting requirement, you will have to resolve them. Organizational political factors are there, requirement changes are there. So here what you have to take away is that the software requirement document is an agreed statement of the system requirements. So it should be organized so that both system customers and software developer can use it and understand it. The requirements engineering process is an iterative process including requirements elicitation, specification, and validation. Also, there were certain stages you have seen: discovery, classification, organization, negotiation and prioritization, and then documentation. These kind of things are done. So in this video, this is the thing. Next we will see some more things like use case diagrams, and those things are also there. So that is all for now. Thank you.